Hamilton Ticats play their final preseason game Friday against the Toronto Argonauts. Steve, what do you need to see from this team to know they're ready for the regular season?
Well, let's look at the two things, right? Well, three things probably, defensive backs, but the number one's kicking. We've mentioned this before. I think it's a huge part of home field advantage or lack thereof. They've got to get that. They've got to get the right person there, and they need to find out if among the two guys they do have the right person. And then right tackle, of course, and those are the things that have to jump out at you right away. And there's a whole bunch of other minor, or not minor, but sort of lower in the depth chart things.
I think there's some question marks in that secondary because we still don't know what's going on with Abdul Kane and Emmanuel Davis, and they were supposed to play big roles in that secondary. In terms of the kicking game, I really do believe that Sergio Castillo has the inside track at this point in time. He's kicked better this week, and I think if he kicks well on Friday, then I think he has a real advantage going into the end of this. And then Jordan Swindle is probably the guy they're looking at for right tackle. I think if he plays well, he can cement himself a starting spot as well.
There's nobody else that's been playing first team reps as much as Swindle. Or I don't think that anybody but Swindle's been playing first team reps, unless it wasn't a practice I wasn't at right tackle. I think they're committed to go there right now. Cuts come this weekend, and we've always said maybe they'll find a tackle there. I don't think there's any. I think everybody around, there might be one or two. You'd probably know a little more about that than me, but the word around from football ops guys is they're just, I mean, the whole league is suffering at tackle.
And so is the NFL, right?
Yes,
and,
for sure.
And Kent Austin talked about that early in training camp, the fact that teams, even in the United States, are hoarding those guys now, that it's tougher to find them. Ticats still have the option to play a Canadian out there, too, if they want to. And I think one of the things that is of concern to me about this team at this point in time is that we don't know exactly where they're going to play their 7 Canadians, because we don't know about the status of Mike Atkinson and Evan Gill, who haven't practiced this week. And so getting a 7th Canadian, where's that going to be? And there are some options there. Tackle is one of them.
Tackle is definitely one of them. And does it surprise you that it's been Bauman that they've shifted out there more than Revenberg? Revenberg played it more last year, right?
And Landon Rice, too, right? He's another guy. So they've got some options there. Now, that's not a factor in the preseason game because you don't have to follow the ratio in the preseason. But at the same time, two things to watch. One, they're going to need some Canadians to emerge. So, how well are guys like Mike Jones playing? How healthy is Mike Daly? Those are things to watch as well. But also injuries. There are some guys, Ted Laurent, Mike Filer, guys that maybe aren't big name guys. Those guys, as much as Zach Caleros needs to stay healthy in this game, they need to get through this game without an injury to one of their major Canadians.
That's for sure. And I mean, they've got contingency plans in case any of those guys go down, but the drop off, severe.
It's concerning. Yes, there's a concern there, absolutely.
Yeah, and you can see the kind of things that they're, and I think they've thought about this during the draft when they went with McGough up the top, because that way you can play Capicotti more than you might expect to, which means that you would shift the onus from middle, and that's why I think you concentrate so much on the one American tackle that's going to make this team. Defensive tackle, because he becomes important, because that allows them to move Capicotti to defensive end and then have a backup if he's good enough in McGough to play there. That's one of the options that they have to look at, and I'm sure we'll see a lot of that in this game. As you're right, they don't have to have that ratio there during the game, but you better do it.
Yep.
You better do it, because that's what you're going to be playing a week later.
You better make sure that you know you have it, right? I think that's the big question.
And I'm sure they will there. It's funny about the tackle thing, isn't it? We saw the same thing with quarterbacks. The kind of quarterbacks that play in our league 10 years ago suddenly started drying up from the States, and they started to keep those guys. There was a period of time when a guy, even a Russell like Wilson, might have played up here.
Yeah, for sure.
Partly because of his size and because he could run, and maybe even because of his color. Still an issue there. But we don't get those players anymore. They hoard them as well. So now it's gone to defensive tackles and shutdown corners.
Yep.
Shutdown corners is another place that the United States is hanging on to players a lot longer.
All right, make sure you check out the Spec and thespec.com, and certainly 3 Down Nation will have lots from the game and full previews as well. Season's almost here, man.
Right, here we go. One more time. What's this for you, 9?
9. How about for you? We'll skip that.
Yeah, we have to do it by growth rings, like a tree.